So we all know that feeling, right? That
Hmm.
impatience when you want something to happen. Well, now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like mastering a skill or hitting a goal. You want it yesterday.
But, maybe the real value, the real magic is actually in the journey, the prep work we tend to ignore.
That's exactly what we're diving into today. This whole idea that um, big achievements, real understanding, they're usually not sudden things.
Right.
They're more often the payoff from a process, a time of growth and learning that kind of sets the stage.
And for this exploration, we're looking at a really interesting piece. It's called He Prepares and Trains You.
From the Rhapsody Realities Devotional. This one's dated Saturday, May 10th, 2025.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive.
Well, we want to get past just reading it. We want to really dig into why this preparation thing is so important.
How it shows up.
Yeah, how it shows up and what we can actually learn from, well, trusting that process, even when we're itching for speed.
And we'll be using the examples in the text, historical, personal, to pull out those deeper insights.
Sounds good.
So this idea of preparation, but on a massive scale, is pretty fascinating. The devotional starts with a story most of us probably know, right? The Israelites leaving Egypt.
Yes. But it highlights a specific angle, like you said. It focuses on God's strategy for their journey.
Okay.
The most direct route, the fastest way to the Promised Land, would have been straight through Philistine territory.
Seems logical. The obvious path.
But the text points out God deliberately avoided that. He steered them away.
Why, though? What was the thinking behind that detour?
Well, the core reason, according to this devotional, was their readiness, or rather their lack of it.
Okay.
These people had just come out of generations of slavery. Their whole life was forced labor, not, fighting
Right.
wars.
It had no military background.
Exactly. No training, no combat experience, and probably none of the mental toughness needed for battle back then.
So facing the Philistines.
Yeah, facing a seasoned enemy like that right away. The fear likely would have overwhelmed them. They might have just turned back to Egypt, even though it was awful.
So instead of the quick route, it was the long way around, through the wilderness, near the Red Sea.
Seems counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Ah,
A longer trip when you've got a destination in mind.
definitely. So why the scenic route?
Well, connecting the dots here, this time in the wilderness wasn't just wandering. It was essential prep time.
Ah, okay.
The text really stresses that during this journey, they saw God's power directly, signs, wonders.
And they experienced his provision too, right? In that tough environment.
Exactly. Food, water, learning dependence.
And this is where it gets really cool, because the devotional connects these experiences to how they understood God through his different names.
That's a key point. When they were vulnerable, when they needed specific help, God revealed aspects of himself that met those needs.
Like Jehovah Rapha.
Yeah, Jehovah Rapha, their healer, showing his power to restore them. And Jehovah Rohi, their shepherd, demonstrating his guidance and care.
So it wasn't just learning a title.
No, not at all. It was experiencing his character, his nature, right when they needed it most.
And the devotional even mentions a future need, doesn't it? Jehovah Nisi.
Their banner of victory, a name that would matter a lot later when battles did come. It's like God was unfolding himself to them piece by piece.
As they were ready, building their faith gradually.
Yeah. This whole historical example really hammers home that main idea. Preparation is often intentional, often phased.
Well, big challenges usually come after a period of getting equipped.
That's what it suggests. Building the capacity, the faith needed to handle them makes you think maybe rushing in unprepared isn't always the best move.
Absolutely. Now, the devotional shifts gears a bit, doesn't it? From this big historical picture to something very personal.
It does. It shares an experience about holding a first crusade at age 15.
15, wow.
Yeah. But what's really interesting is the emphasis on the groundwork done before that event.
It wasn't just a sudden thing.
No, not at all. The text talks about consistent, like, person-to-person stuff, going house to house, street evangelism.
Sharing the message in everyday places.
Right. Workers on their breaks, in schools, just talking to peers. A lot of groundwork.
So even before this crusade, there was this whole phase of, like, practicing, building confidence, sharing the message, small scale.
And the text is pretty honest about the results of that first big event. They were good, positive, but not on the same scale as things that happened later. And the point isn't to downplay the start, but to recognize that, well, personal growth was needed, increased capacity.
That example about large gatherings really stuck with me, saying God didn't bring like 20,000 people right at the start
Yeah.
because the person just wasn't ready to handle that scale yet.
It really underlines that idea, doesn't it? That the opportunities we get often match where we are in our development.
Bigger responsibilities, bigger impact, they seem to require that internal growth first.
It's like you got to build the foundation before you can put up a skyscraper.
Right.
You need that strength, that structure. Walk before you run.
It definitely seems like we humans are wired for speed, though. That desire for instant
Well, for
results.
sure.
The devotional mentions it too. Faster cars, faster computers. We want everything quicker.
It's just the way our world moves now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Faster and faster. But the text offers this contrast, thinking about God as the Ancient of Days.
Implying a different time frame.
Yeah, suggesting maybe a divine perspective operates on different principles, following divine patterns, timing, purpose, things that don't always match our hurry.
So those times that feel frustratingly slow.
Or situations where you feel stuck or progress seems non-existent.
They might actually be part of this bigger preparation process.
That's the invitation, I think, to trust that the timing has a reason, even if we don't see it immediately.
It brings us back to that core idea. God is preparing us intentionally.
Exactly, and that's where that affirmation the text suggests comes in. I am learning and growing.
Shifting focus.
Yeah, shifting from frustration about the speed to trust in the journey itself, finding value right where you are.
Okay, and to add more layers to this, the devotional brings in some scriptures to back this up.
Let's look at those. They offer some extra angles. First up is Exodus 13, verses 17 and 18.
Which circles back to the Israelites.
Right. It explicitly states God didn't lead them via the Philistine way because they might see war and want to return to Egypt.
So it confirms that strategic detour.
Absolutely. It wasn't random.
Yeah.
It emphasizes the guided nature of that wilderness journey, tailored specifically to their unprepared state. God knew they weren't ready for that fight.
Then there's Romans 5, verses 3 and 4. This one talks about glorying in tribulations.
Yeah, finding something positive in hardships.
Yeah.
Because tribulation works patience.
Patience leads to experience or character.
And that experience builds hope. It completely reframes how we might look at challenges.
So difficulties aren't just obstacles.
No, they can be tools for growth. According to this passage, they're instrumental in developing vital qualities like patience, resilience, stuff that makes our hope stronger, more real.
Like challenges are part of the training program.
You could say that, yeah,
Hmm.
shaping us for whatever is coming next.
Okay, and the last one mentioned is James 1, verses 2 to 4.
This one encourages counting trials as joy.
Joy. That sounds tough.
It does. But James says it's because the testing of your faith produces perseverance or steadfastness.
And we need to let that perseverance finish its work.
Right, so that you can be mature and complete, lacking nothing. It highlights the power of just enduring, sticking with it.
So again, trials aren't just things to get through, but opportunities.
Opportunities to cultivate that steadfastness, which leads to wholeness, maturity. It reinforces that the journey, even the tough bits, serves a purpose in shaping us.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive on He prepares and trains you, the big message seems to be trust, right?
Yeah, trusting the process, trusting God's timing, even when it feels slow or unclear.
We saw it with the Israelites' massive detour, and in that personal story of starting small and growing into bigger things.
The main takeaway, really, is that what feels like a delay or maybe a confusing path could actually be vital prep time,
Equipping us for future challenges.
or maybe even bigger opportunities than we can see right now. It's about accepting that growth is often gradual, and the journey itself is doing important work in us.
It definitely makes you look back differently, doesn't it? Those times you felt progress was stalled or you were on the harder road.
Yeah, maybe those were the very times you were building resilience or patience or skills you'd need later without even realizing it fully.
Which leads to a final thought, maybe something for you, our listener, to chew on.
Think about your own life. Was there a time when a path felt much longer or way more challenging than you expected?
But looking back now, you can see how it actually prepared you for something significant later on, maybe greater success or just a deeper understanding.
What did that specific journey teach you about your own ability to grow? About your resilience? Something to reflect on.